The time has finally arrived.
Johnny is going to jail?
Of course not. We're getting GTA 6 before that ever happens. However, he received his next trial hearing and it didn't go well. None of them ever do or ever will. Not for Johnny at least. But this one was exceptionally bad. This whole day played out like a game of chutes and ladders with no ladders. Now let's start off with Johnny's lawyer, the guy who is on record saying this.
How does that make him put an American in jail?
Nothing went right for him. He was overruled on every single request he made. A lot of people thought he might have just been having an off day, and they kind of feel bad for him. I am not one of those people. I think Johnny's lawyer is a moron. Even putting RKI aside, he doesn't have a good track record as a legal defendant. Over the years, he has taken minimal clients, and he has not succeeded by any of them. I really don't think he's a good lawyer. I don't think he's playing to his strengths, and if I were to give him any advice, I would tell him to either pick a different profession like his tax litigator business, go learn a new skill, or go back to law school. But as he stands right now, he's just not a good lawyer. Johnny's not a good client, obviously, but that doesn't make him a good lawyer either. Now, continuing with the lawyer, let's talk about his performance in court. He starts off by arguing about the most minor and inconsequential matters imaginable. Things like, oh, you guys didn't give me enough of a notice before all of this. To which the prosecutor soundly and aggressively shot back, saying, oh no, buddy. Oh no. We followed all the legal procedures. I mean all of them. You're the one that needs to get his shit together. And then also whining about, oh, you have to change the date on this completely irrelevant side document. He got shut down on both of these things, even though Johnny still intends to challenge the deepfakes, apparently. I mean, he didn't change his plea on those. He has a lawyer who is saying, I cannot explain the evidence, or I cannot articulate the evidence. His lawyer further went on to block the witnesses, or at least try to, meaning Bong Bong and Yun Mong. Now, from his perspective, that makes sense. Their testimonies aren't exactly going to benefit Johnny. But of course, how is he going to block them if Johnny's still not going to plead guilty? Why would the South Korean courts grant him that favor? He then went on to try and get some extra time for cross-examination. Didn't get those 20 minutes either for both witnesses respectively. Once the trial came to its closing act, he asked to have the witnesses called at an earlier date. Got another overruling. Said, we need time to give these witnesses proper notice so they can be at their maximum power when it's time to call upon them. And now for the coup de grace. Get a load of this. That's right, he articulated the nature of the crime, yet still insisted upon innocence because Johnny was drunk, and only took part in distribution. He didn't even know how to make them, apparently. Obviously, the judge roasted this argument in seconds. If I got behind the wheel while I was drunk and hit someone, then am I liable to get off scot-free because I was drunk? You're not getting an answer to that. You know as well as I do that isn't a valid argument. Yeah, that's what we get from the fuckwad who thinks.
How does that make him put an American in jail?
Now, moving on to Johnny, the trial was pure euphoria. The most infamous troll on the east side of Earth is a shell of his former self. During his previous trials, the herpes-ridden monkey was a lot more animated, sticking his tongue out at his haters and mean-mugging them, playing with his cute little MAGA hat. None of that was seen today, you see. Johnny was resigned. The despair is ensnaring him like cheap cologne, going through his depression arc, if you will. In accordance with the reports of someone assigned to observe him and assess his demeanor, health, and all that, he had dark circles around his eyes. His dark circles came with their own dark circles. That's how bad it was. As far as the witness goes, that was one of the most shell-shocking and disorienting plot twists of the day. It was not Bong Bong. Everyone, including Mega Chad Longman himself, thought it would be. But no, the witness was one of the employees from Lotte World. And let me tell you, her presence was the equivalent of Madara showing up in the midst of the 4th Great Shinobi War. The tides of battle immediately turned against Johnny. I'm telling you, her power level is beyond human comprehension. She was so overpowered that Johnny immediately changed his plea on the minor crimes charge that he pled not guilty on in a previous court hearing. Odds are he was betting this response on whether or not the witness showed up. It's reasonable to suspect that he would not have changed his plea if the witness turned out to have been a no-show. And we've never really seen RKI concede in a legal context, not like this. So that was definitely another unexpected factor. If anyone ever tells you that Johnny abandoned his sidekick or pushed him to the brink of tolerance, Hank was still very much at the trial. This effectively confirmed that he was still affiliated with Johnny, which is interesting as it presents us with contradictory information. In a recent interview with K-Town, Hank claimed that Johnny was no longer living with him. Meanwhile, Johnny reports in court to still be living with Hank. So either one of them could be lying. Both of them are dishonest, so there's possibilities on both sides of the coin. Odds lean towards Hank, as logically, Johnny shouldn't really want to deal with contempt of court on top of everything else. But Johnny isn't exactly a creature compelled by pragmatism now, is he? In the end, it's a relatively inconsequential matter, but it's still funny how in one way or another, Johnny's little Gunner clan is still trying to kick and scream on their descent into the ultimate defeat. So here is the final matter of today's video, the deepfake charges. Oh boy, where do I even begin? Johnny and his lawyer basically pled guilty without pleading guilty. They denied creation of the deepfakes, yet admit to distribution. Yeah, if need be, feel free to pause the video and take a minute to process that one. And again, the prosecution was invested in Johnny's case. This man was observed. He was analyzed. And it was reported that the prosecutor was a calm, collected, and calculating man of mild manners. Yet in spite of that, every report from the court confirmed that he was very aggressive in facing Johnny. You should be very afraid when the calm and collected man is taking a more aggressive stance, because in that case, you have effectively earned the ire of a human who is capable of rational thought and calculated response. Again, this spirals back into the lawyer's failure. Since Johnny did not plead guilty to the deepfakes, he was not allowed to deny the witnesses. The prosecution made a more compelling argument, citing that if Johnny will continue to fight this, it is imperative that witnesses be allowed to testify. Again, the judge sided with the prosecution. So then he wanted that extra time for cross-examination we mentioned. And here is the beauty of the trial. Cross-examination is basically the time where two hostile parties are permitted to interact prior to their battle in the courts itself. If Johnny's lawyer were to get anything on the witnesses, be it a legal upper hand, a chance to convince them to be more sympathetic to his client, or perhaps some idea of how to prey upon their psychology, this would be the moment to do so. And in moments of cross-examination, the South Korean courts will almost always give you extra time if you request it. The fact that Johnny's lawyer was denied even this is a huge concern for RKI. It is virtually unprecedented to hear extra time for cross-examination being denied. This is the judge telling young Somali, your case isn't even worth it. Cope and seethe, little bitch. We are highly unconvinced as to the possibility of you being able to conjure up a worthwhile legal counter. So why would we give you those extra 20 minutes? Anyways, that's about where we're at. Subscribe to the channel and I'll see you guys later.